Hi there, and welcome to another video of MeasureSchool.com, where we teach you the data-driven way of digital marketing. My name is Julian, and today we're gonna recap our course on building a dashboard with Google Data Studio. So I hope you're all excited for that. This is a live session, so you can come in and ask questions. If you don't see this live, we will have all the links that we talk about in the description below as well. Now, we have gone through this course and built our first Facebook ads dashboard. Now, Facebook ads is just one of the different use cases you could use a Data Studio dashboard for, and there are many other examples. So I hope this course gave you a bit of a framework to go through once you are building new dashboards with the help of Google Data Studio. So let's recap really quickly today, and then I will give you a little bit more resources on where to find out more about building dashboards or data visualization in general. And afterwards, we'll answer your questions that came in via the comments below the videos, or also in the chat and via email, because I asked some people to actually write me some questions, and there have been some pretty good questions that I'm gonna address today. So let's dive into our recap right now. Here is our screen, and this is first of all our process that we went through at the beginning. So we prepared our data, then we set it all up in Google Sheets, and visualize it in Google Data Studio. And in the first lesson, we really went through the foundational steps that you need to prepare. So we explored what data could we put onto the dashboard, what is the dashboard actually for. We pinned down our audience, very important. We went out and talked to the people who would use that dashboard. So most of the times it's not you using the dashboard, so you should not sit down like a developer and just code this up and bring it out there and then get feedback, but rather talk to people before, because you'll get so much more out of the dashboard, and they will get so much more out of the dashboard later on. We defined the data, and then we sketched and wireframed this out. So you see this here. We ask a bunch of questions that might be useful. We talked to our target audience and found out what is important for them, and we defined our data so we could use it later on, and sketched it all up, wireframed it in a tool like Balsamiq. So that was the first step. Then we went on to actually putting the data all together. So familiar here is the slide that we saw before, with our data sources are now ported over to Google Sheets. And in Google Sheets, we went through and looked at what data do we actually want to have on our dashboard and where does it come from. So we defined two data sources. We have Facebook and we have Google Analytics. And the most important part here, before we actually pulled the data, is what are the commonalities between those two tools, or the data sets, so we can put them together later on, because we wanted to have both data sources on our dashboard. So we came up with this thing where we said, okay, in Facebook we have ad campaign or campaign name, ad set, and ad name. How can we find that data again in Google Analytics? And there's where our UTM tagging came in with campaign, ad content, and keyword. And then we pulled that data together with the help of a tool called Supermetrics. Now, Supermetrics is an add-on to Google Sheets, and here we have many different data sources where we pulled this all together into these sheets. So we have the raw data, kind of the raw data, not every data point, but we have split it up by all our dimensions, which are the date, the campaign name, and so on. And we did the same with Google Analytics data, where we wanted to get our transaction value, so our conversion data, because our target audience told us that they prefer the attribution from Google Analytics, and that's why we pulled it from Google Analytics. And then we put it all together with the help of the inbuilt features of Google Sheets. So Google Sheets gives us the opportunity to filter data, to wrangle it, to put it all together, split it apart, and we used some Sheets Google Sheets formulas. One very powerful formula is the query formula, where we could pull in the data from different sheets. and we put it all together in our Facebook plus GA sheet here, and then we had it all ready to be imported into Google Data Studio. Now, the last step was to actually build our dashboard. So here's our dashboard that we have built. And you saw in the videos probably that this was not a short task where you just click something together and everything works. This was really work to begin with, because we had to actually think about our data. We had to wireframe it out. We had to pull all the data together. So we had it all today. And then, only then, we were able to build this thing. And it took me in preparation a long time, but also in the videos you saw that it's not a short task. Now, what we have done in the last video was actually to just first of all take our data set. So let's go into our data set here. So this was our data set, and we only used one data set to unify this all. Although we could put in different data sets here, but we couldn't combine them actually. So conversion data, for example, wouldn't be actually possible with Google Data Studio. And then we had it all in our sheet, what we then pulled into Google Data Studio. And then we went first ahead and went through the naming convention. So what are the names that we wanted to change? And then we put in calculated metrics. So this FX here stands for calculated. So this field is actually calculated. So we put in the formula to calculate this and put this all together. And once we had this prepared, we went ahead and first of all laid out our Data Studio dashboard. So you remember these blue boxes that said, okay, the proportions need to be kind of like this. And then we went ahead and put this all together. Now, one thing that helped us a lot was our little wireframe that I had prepared in the first lesson. So I knew, okay, what goes where and where do we want to have our dates. And I could just get very much clearer on what I wanted to accomplish here, and it was much easier to build. Otherwise, it would have taken me a lot more time. And then, yeah, we had it all together, and it was ready to be shared and shared with you guys, but also with our clients or with our audience, and maybe present that data to your audience. So we went full circle here from the exploration phase to the actual visualization phase to our finished product. Now, is this done? Well, I would say that probably you would need to get feedback from your clients again, or from whoever uses the dashboard from your audience to make this all happen. So don't stop here and just say, okay, this is all done and I can get my money. But the dashboard, and this is the goal that we actually defined at the beginning, is that the dashboard is actually used. So it makes the job easier of the guy who's using this, the Facebook Ads Manager, for example, in our case, and he actually uses it, or he has some adjustments. So it makes his job easier and it changes his behavior. He can do easier analysis. He could explore the data faster. He can find mistakes in his account faster. He can see if he is on track or not. So this is really the goal of building a dashboard. And don't ever forget this, because it's far too easy to just build something with a cool tool like Google Data Studio, draw something up without doing anything with it. And so this is basically our little course on building a Facebook ads dashboard with the help of Google Data Studio. So I hope you enjoyed this, and if you haven't watched the videos yet, then go back. We'll link them up below as well. Okay, now that we have recapped our course, let's dive into some more resources. Now, we have built this dashboard with a very specific stack, right? So our marketing stack here would be Facebook ads. We have Google Analytics as data sources. We use Google Sheets. We use Google Supermetrics to actually pull that data in, and then Google Data Studio to visualize this in our dashboard. Now, in real case scenarios, you would probably deal with something completely different. So I wouldn't even say that you could just copy this and say, hey, this is all done. No, you need to go through the exploration phase. You need to gather all that information and build that from scratch. And I really mean from scratch, because I think it's too often that people just copy something and then say, okay, I have, this is the data that you need, but they don't know what it means. And I'm really big fan of like how does the data get put together? How can I manipulate it? And maybe even then be fast when it comes to changes, right? Okay, now I want to give you a little bit more resources, because in real life, again, you would have different tools, different audience, a completely different goal for your DataStudio dashboard, so this was just a process that I wanted to take you through, and this is the most important part of the course actually, that I wanted to take you through, that you learn this thing. Okay. Let's go into some more resources here from this course. We have, first of all, some courses. So I done this series just to show you the capabilities, but it will be outdated. And there's some people who go much more in depth in doing this. And one of these courses is Ben Collins' course. We'll link that up in the description below. He teaches you how to build dashboards with Google Sheets and Google Data Studio. And first of all, you will learn how to build a dashboard just like this in Sheets itself, but then also visualize it in Google Data Studio later on. And I went through this course, and it helped me a lot to think about the data, how it's actually put together. And Ben is really a great guy when it comes to Google Sheets. So if you want to dive into some more of the stuff that we have done in the second lesson, then definitely check out his course. We also have a course from David from Coding is for Losers, and he built a course called DataStudio the Lazy Way. And this course is mainly geared towards people who use Google Data Studio. So it gets much more in depth and about how to do calculated metrics. When you think about what are metrics, what are dimensions, really geared towards Google Data Studio as a tool. And if you want to find out more about Google Data Studio and go a little bit more in depth about that tool, then check out David's course, which I'm also going to link up in the description below. Now, if you want to go out and build your own dashboard, where do you actually start? There are always good examples on the Data Studio gallery. So I always encourage people to go out and find dashboards and look at them and say, hey, what does the data actually tell me? How can I use this? What did they do visually here? What is maybe good? What is maybe not so good? And what do I like and what do I don't like, right? So I did this before I started building this dashboard, or for wireframing it actually. I went out and looked at different dashboards and said, well, this would be really good in my visualization, but maybe not in the visualization that I would do for a completely different client. So I took some elements and I said, what does it really tell me? And this is really key. What does the data tell me? How can I tell a story with it? But also, how does it change my behavior if I would put myself in the shoes of the audience? I always think about that, and there's some great dashboards that you can copy over and play with in this Data Studio gallery. We also have other galleries from other tools. Now, Google Data Studio is just one tool that you can build dashboards with. One of the biggest dashboarding softwares probably is Tableau. So a lot of digital analysts, but people who work with data visualization in a bigger companies with bigger data sets, they use Tableau, and it's really one of the standards that is out there. And they have also a gallery that I will link up in the description below, where you can see super cool data visualizations. Now, again, not all visualizations are for you, but this really shows you what is the tool capable of, but also what can you see from that data. And I always encourage you to go out and look at different data visualizations, not only from tool vendors. Well, the tool vendors will really show cool visualizations, but also how do other present the data, right? Look at YouTube videos maybe from other presenters. Superweek is a really good conference on analytics, and they have some cool visualizations. So just look into look at other presentations, see how they handle data. One of the things that I would encourage you to definitely do. One of the things that helped me to do this is actually a guy who was really well known in the Tableau world, and he has a YouTube channel called Datasaurus Rex. It doesn't have many subscribers, so I'm gonna send him some love. But here's somebody who really knows data visualization well, and here's some really nice videos and some funny videos too. So check out his channel. Definitely, that's one of the things that I can only encourage you to do. Okay, and then some book tips. So I've put together this kit that you can check out for data visualization books, and here are some standard works that you can go into. Now, know that data visualization is not about like just charts and so on. So there are so many more things that you can do in data visualization. It comes down to communication. So one of the books that is really well known in the data viz world is the book by Edward Tufte, and he also has some YouTube talks that you could check out. And this is really one of the guys who you should follow in that sense. One of the standards when it comes to data visualization. Let's put it this way. But there are many other books here that I would urge you to check out if you're interested in communicating more effectively, taking data to communicate, visualizing that data, storytelling. Also, all that runs into this whole space of data visualization. One person I can recommend here, and I want to plug, is Leah Pika. Now, Leah Pika is well known in the analytics world, and she's very active in the DAA, the Digital Analytics Association. But also, she does a podcast called the Present Beyond Measure Show. And this is really a great show because she really knows her stuff in data visualization, and she has also the right guests to talk about it. So people to talk about audience, learn what moves your audience, better presentations, boardroom meetings, boardroom presentations to higher ups. We have Justin Cotroni here. We have storytelling for data. So this is really a great podcast to listen to if you want to get into this whole data visualization more and more, and really build the habits as well to become a more effective communicator when it comes to data. All right, what else do I have? One site that I want to point out is Google Data Studio itself is a very new tool, and therefore I would keep an eye on this page where you can see all the different changes that come out all the time. Now, you see recently as July 19th, we got a new style tab and new data controls here. And this is all something that is always changing. And to be honest, I already know of one big change that will come in the next few weeks. And that will surprise a lot of people. We'll keep you up to date on the developments here on this channel, but also look at this site once you have once you want to dive into this deeper. All right, that's it with our little resource section. If you have any new resources, good resources to check out, then please leave them in the comments below, because we'll definitely, I'm always definitely interested in hearing that. Now, I'm also not an expert on data visualization and data communication, so I'm always eager to learn from the audience that I can reach on this channel. So please leave that in the comments below. Now let's move on to some questions. Now we are live here, and we have some people online like Joe and Jacob and Andy and Joe Roach. So we have some questions already. Now, before we get into these questions, I already have some questions that I've dug up from our email. So I asked some email questions before we dove in to the session yesterday. I sent out an email saying, hey, do you have any questions about DataStudio? Let me see these questions. And people wrote in, for example, Alan, is it possible to change to start the day of the week, as currently it is defaults to Monday? It would like this to start on Sunday. I can't see an option in the DataStudio to allow me to change when a week starts. Now, I quickly checked and I thought it wouldn't be possible, But let's go back here into Google Data Studio. Cancel this. So this is a blank sheet. And you're probably talking about the date selector here. So date selector, and can you change here the date range? So here you have like fixed date ranges that you can use. Now I don't quite know what you want to do. If you want to do it on a reporting level, I don't know if that's possible, but definitely you can choose here this week, and you can choose whether this week starts on Sunday or on Monday. So this is always something that should be possible in our date range here. So if you have a fixed date range, or if we choose here to say this week starts on Sunday. So here we go. I don't know why this doesn't work. Oh, my date range is actually, I only have data in here for January. So this is something that you need to be aware of if you don't have any data in there. So yeah, it is possible to change that, but probably only in the view settings. I haven't seen the setting. Let me just check. Can we, oh no, the report setting. We can change that around. Ah, here it is. So this is the default date range, and you can change the default range to last week, starts from Monday. So yes, I guess it's possible. Let me know if there's anything that I misunderstood in your question. Now the next question is from Alfonso. I would like to know if there's a free tool instead of Supermetrics to extract data from Google Analytics and Facebook ads. Okay, this is a question that I got pretty often. I also saw in the comments that somebody said that Supermetrics is super expensive. Now, just to debunk the myth, I think the question is always, how do you use that data? If you have a running business in Facebook ads or AdWords, and you do reporting for your clients, then a price, let me see, the price for the Drive add-on right here is $43 a month. And the question is, how much actually do you make with your client, right? I think much more than $43. And I also think that it is a tool. I mean, it helps you with your communication. So the question here is, how much is the communication worth to you? So if you can automate things, so you don't have to pull the data in by manually, how can you do this with Supermetrics efficiently? And then how can you keep your client happy to communicate with them better? So my actual thought here is that Google Supermetrics is actually pretty cheap, and I have heard this from other people in the PPC world, so people who work with that data and also want to keep their clients happy. It is actually something that I would say it's always dependent on how you use the data. Now, I can understand that some people say, I'm just building a dashboard for myself. How can I do this for free? Or how can I do this more cheaply? And there are definitely some alternatives here. So if you want to use Google Sheets like we did in this course, then you can go ahead and download one plugin for Google Analytics. So if you don't want to use Google Analytics, although I must say that when you use Supermetrics here, the Google Analytics connector is actually free. So even if you are on a free plan, you can use Google Analytics still. You can't use Facebook advertising. Now, there is an add-on for, if you go into this add-on gallery, there is an add-on that is from Google Analytics directly. So from the Google team, it was built by Google Analytics, and you can pull the data down this way. This is a bit more strenuous to work with because you need to know exactly what you would put into the reporting API to pull the right data. So you need to know the right commands. I can't really show you it here, but you need to know what is the basic metric that you are requesting, and it's not the name of the metric that you see in the Google Analytics interface. So you need to be very aware of how can I pull this data, where do I want to place this data, and it doesn't have a functionality to actually update the data. So that's one thing that you need to keep in mind if you use this plugin for for Google Sheets and Google Analytics. Now with Facebook, there's actually a second plugin out there called Blockspring, but Blockspring probably also costs money after a certain point. Blockspring. Right, this is Blockspring, and also a great tool when it comes to connecting to APIs, like DataStudio does it as well. Supermetrics does it as well. But check back with Blockspring how much it actually costs, because I don't think it's also for free. Now, the other alternative, unfortunately, is obviously going into your Google Ads account and then exporting the data, right? And then putting it into a sheet, and then there you have it, because you can have CSV exports. I Googled around a bit, and I actually found on the Facebook website they have a tool for their tool, but it's for Excel. So you could export that data with this tool. Now, let's play this video. Facebook. And they actually have a tool that you could, just like Supermetrics, get all that data into, they don't really show it that well. Yeah, get it into an Excel spreadsheet. So if you have Excel, then you could pull the data down here and then push it up to Google Sheets if you want to use Google Sheets. Is there actually probably not a connector for let's go into the settings, a connector for Excel. Create new data source. No, but you can file upload. So what does that mean? Uploads your data to Google Cloud Storage. Okay, but what kind of files can I upload? That would be something to find out. Okay, so you could use this add-on apparently from Facebook. I didn't know it existed, to push your data. So I hope this gives you some opportunity to push this data up to Facebook, to Google Sheets without using Supermetrics. Although, I recommend the tool because of the scheduling functionality, so you can keep the data up to date. And if it makes sense for your business, you might want to consider this tool. And I will also link that up below as well. Okay, one more question, or 2 or 3 more questions. Now, Diane asks, can I use different data sources on a page? For example, each graph coming from a different Google Analytics account. Let's quickly try this out. In our sheet here, we would have a data source like this, and we have a second data source just like this. So can I change actually the data sources here? And we have here our data sources. Now, within the data source, we could change obviously the metric, but that's not what we want to do. We want to change the actual data source. And here it is possible to choose whatever. So let's choose our sheet here and add that to the report. That data. Let's go with another Google Analytics account. So we have Firebase sample data here. Let's go with this AdWords data and choose a new metric. So here we have our sample data now, and from that sample data we want to choose a new metric. Let's say this. So we have 2 data sources, one from Google Analytics, one from AdWords. So yes, that is possible. And then the next question was, can you create a report with a drop-down menu to easily change data sources for the whole part of the page? So if you have different pages, now I closed our DataStudio. If you have different pages or part of the pages, we have this new controller which was introduced, I think, a few weeks back probably. And this controller actually controls the data and the date, if you go back here, to choose the view that you have access to with your Google Analytics account. So really useful to changing data around and filtering data. Now, unfortunately, once we activate that, that only goes for one part of the account. So, and only for Google Analytics sources. So if I had two data sources from different Google Analytics accounts, and I tried this out earlier, then I don't know how they actually do it, but then all the data changes once I activate that on this sheet. So I don't know if you can disconnect one or the other part, but it's definitely not possible so easily. So again, you could probably not do this that easily, only for the dimensions that you have accessible. So with this filter control, you could build dimensions and you could build different sheets, and then only that data to that sheet would change. So it's kind of possible, but a lot of workarounds here, I would say. And then your last question was, what is the best way to compare two date ranges? Now this actually depends. I mean, two date ranges, if I look into my work in Google Analytics, I normally have two line charts that I could see, okay, here's the difference. But once I want to dig deeper into that data, why not show you an example in the demo account of Google Analytics. Once I want to compare date ranges here and say, okay, I compare this to the previous week, so to say, I can see what are the changes and why were the changes happening, especially through this line chart. This loads pretty long, but anyways, you get the point right here. Now, sometimes I want to actually have this, once I want to dig deeper, I want to have hard facts, hard data. And this really depends on what your client, what your audience wants and how they make decisions, what data you show here. And then this comparison works really well. Now, for other people, they want to have just simply two charts, right? So you have two charts underneath each other, and that's where you would have that data as well. Okay, and then we have Costa's question. I would like to know what's the best way to reporting overall website level performance and what's the best way reporting single page performance of my website. Now, this really depends. I would say if you go back, ask yourself these questions. How will you use that data? How is your decision making right now? And what data do you want to have on your dashboard? Now, there are good reports out there that you could use, but will they make the difference? Because the question is always, how do you look at the data and what story do you tell yourself or your client about that data and how do they make decisions? And once you have reported that data or put that data made a plan beforehand, before you actually start visualizing that data, then you would be able to make this data effective for you, make decisions on that. And therefore, the planning phase is very important. And there's no best way to doing a dashboard. So there's so many out there for different purposes. And you should find the right purpose for your way. Now, once if I should give you a tip, I would say, what do you do in Google Analytics? So if Google Analytics is the data source that you work off to look at the data, for example, on a page, on a website basis, right? I would look at my conversions. I would look at how many people came from what source. That is data that I want to have on my dashboard as well. I want to have a quick overview, and that's what I want to have on my data in order to get a quick overview, but then also make decisions, right? The second part would be that you asked about was the page level performance. Again, there. When you go into a page report in Google Analytics, what do you actually look for, right? What are the metrics that you actually look for? Putting that together, pulling that out of Google Analytics and putting it onto a dashboard would be a really good idea in order to get a quick overview again. And I cannot tell you what is important for your website, because even on a website level and a business model level, the metrics might differ, right? What does conversion mean to me as a measure school owner? Course sales or people who have on my subscribers on YouTube, and not the data that is maybe important for you. If you are an e-commerce business, the sales of a certain product or the overall revenue. And so a dashboard needs to be built from the ground up with the data and the business in mind that actually influences your behavior. Very important point. Again, so I go back to lesson number 1 to make this all work. And then one question that Costa as well had was combining DataStudio and Google Optimize in order to see more clearly if the changes I'm doing are working or not. Now, if we go back and look at Google Data Studio here, and look at the data sources that we have available. So here we have data sources, and if we want to build a new data, we don't have direct access to Google Optimize. Now that would be awesome if we had some kind of Google Optimize. Let's go over to Optimize. No, that was not it. Optimize.google.com. If you have a running A/B test here, and then you have reporting, then you would see some reporting here. I don't have a running test, so I can't really show you what data would come in. But then connect it back to your Data Studio, and that's not possible. That's simply not possible because there's no data connector. But what about you pulling the data into Google Sheets? Now Google, let's see if our Supermetrics has a data connector to Google Optimize yet. Maybe that data is also not yet available through an API, so I don't see anything here yet. What was it? Google AdWords, BigQuery, Search Console. So no, there is no data connector for Google Sheets. But I know for a fact that you can gather all the results of Google Optimize in your Google Analytics account. So from there, you could put it into your Google dashboard again, Google Data Studio dashboard again. So it is possible to pull that data through Google Analytics, and you can find that way. Now, the best way to visualize this, I wouldn't know. I would build a dashboard, I guess, for evaluating A/B tests, right? And that's something you could definitely do. But in order to show it to other people, again, you need to think about the audience. You mentioned your boss here. Now, what does he actually need to make a decision to say, oh, this is really interesting or this is not interesting, and I would cut out the rest. It's about simplicity, and in the end, a dashboard is nothing else than simplifying the data, the amount of data that we have into a visualization that can help you make decisions. All right, I hope this was informative for you and the guys who asked me some questions. Now, I want to quickly go over to the questions that we gotten here in the chat. Robust snippet about the data layer. Okay, I'm not going to answer any questions about Google Tag Manager or Google Analytics because that wouldn't that would waste the time of the other people who are watching this video. So I hope you understand. Now, Joe asked about the Supermetrics license, or is it an agency account? So you can do both. I think there is no. There should be, you have like a maximum of queries that you can pull in, right? So it is basically an agency account, and you can pull in data from any kind of data sources as long as you stay under the maximum query. And there's a more expensive package where you have more queries, but it's it should work for a mid-size agency. So if you are not a very big agency, then you probably don't need all that data and that you have available. Okay, then we have Joe. Twitter following data. Is the best to check their account at a specific time each day or manually update this data? Isn't it? Now, what is the metric that I want? The Twitter following. Do they need it on a daily basis? Will they actually make decisions on a daily basis about their Twitter following? And if it goes up or down, I guess it would only go up. Now, I guess I would say that you would probably do it manually, but if you have a scheduled approach, so you do Twitter outreach for people or something like that, then you want to report on it on a monthly basis, and with Supermetrics you can schedule that, and that's something I would urge you to do because the automation is very important. So Alfonso is in here too, and I answered your question hopefully. Then import the XLS file to Google Sheets. All right. Yes. So you probably talk about the Facebook tool that for Excel, and that would be the idea. I don't know if Google Sheets supports XLS, but probably they do. I think they have a conversion there. And it should, I mean, that's their business model of trying to get people over to Sheets, right? So I would say that would be possible. Yeah, a way to go. Joe asks social media data. Supermetrics does social media data and search rankings as well. So you can plug into data sources like Google Search Console, but also other data sources like SEMrush, Moz. So SEOs are covered. I guess social media, we have Twitter, we have YouTube data. Other data like Bing Ads, MailChimp, not all the tools are out there. But I think also that Supermetrics is really cool when it comes to getting data from databases. So if you have a CRM system, if you have a system surrounding, what's it called? Like a shopping system, like a shopping software, like I guess like Shopify. Could you do it with Shopify? Probably not that easily with Shopify. But let's say you run a Magento store that runs on a MySQL database. So you would go into that MySQL database and you give Supermetrics these the access codes, and then you could pull it right into Sheets. So that is something, you get the conversion data from your single most trusted source, probably your backend data, and this is something you could plug in as well. So that's pretty cool on that front. Okay. Okay, SEMrush is pretty expensive as well, as we noticed. And Fernando doesn't have any more questions. All right, guys, then I hope this was useful to you. And I'm getting really tired of talking so much. So I hope this course was something that you enjoyed. Let me know if you have any suggestions for more courses that we can do on this YouTube channel. The second thing is I would be really interested in hearing any feedback, what we could do better on this channel, but also on the course. If you like this Q&A session, and if you have any more questions, if you see this after the fact, then please check out the description. Definitely, we have all the links in there, but also look at the comment section if you have any more questions. So sometimes I hop in there and answer a question if I see an interesting one that wasn't yet answered. With that said, if you liked this video, then why not give us a thumbs up? And if you haven't yet, then check out our course. I'm also gonna link that up right over there if you want to start at the beginning. But also, if you haven't yet, then consider subscribing right over there, because we will bring you new videos every week. Now, my name is Julian. Till next time.